Do you ever feel like that the weight of expectations could feel even the slightest bit suffocating? As a kid, my parents would always have me study really hard. Whenever I got home, they would review me for hours. I'd answer hundreds of pages of exercises just for one test. And I'd memorize multiple handouts to make sure I'd get a high score. And whenever I got a few marks wrong, they would get mad. They'd slap me and they'd punish me. Sometimes I'd even be banned from watching TV for a long while. My first few years of elementary school had me achieving things to that, but at the same time, my parents' expectations for me rose and rose and rose. At one point in time, it had become really hard for me to maintain this. I'd grown tired of studying so hard. Getting full marks had become much more difficult with each passing year because of the difficulty. It also meant that meeting their expectations would also become much harder for every single year I'd go through school. It was at this point that the pressure had started to get to my childish head. I'd always ask my parents why they were pushing me so much, why they had so many expectations. And they tell me that they see that I'm not giving my best and I could still do so much more. And I'd always respond with the same thing. You're pushing me to the edge. I can't take it anymore. And my grades had sank the years after, betraying their expectations entirely. The years after, I was no longer the overachieving son they thought I was. Instead of expectations to do better, they'd give me a minimum grade requirement to fulfill. Otherwise, they'd make me leave the school. I'd leave my friends, and that honestly scared me. It scared me to the point that I'd study as hard as I could even when I couldn't. But it was really difficult for me because I wasn't even able to meet their expectations. It was a day-to-day struggle just to get to that minimum grade requirement that they'd give me so I wouldn't leave the school. I was burnt out and I found it so hard to achieve, even just the minimum grade requirement that they gave me. Expectations are based on past history and current circumstances. It's only natural that others expect results that match what happened before. Expectations are built on the belief that if you can do this, then you can do this too. There's always that sprinkle on top of those expectations that say that you're still capable of doing more and more the next time. And then when you accomplish this, they'll say again that you're capable of doing more the next time as well. And this process would repeat and repeat and repeat until you crash and burn. It had taken so long for me to get out of my academic slump. It had started from when I was in 7th grade and had only ended when I was in the 10th grade. What brought me out was my shame towards my parents for not giving my best when they had invested so much into my own education. For that, I decided that I'd do my best to study hard. Not for myself, but instead because I feel bad towards my parents. It's a really normal motivation, but to me, at the time, it was everything. I studied at least a week before a major test and stayed up just memorizing, practicing, and solving so that I could do it right and perfectly whenever I had the test or project. With my performance steadily increasing once more, slowly but surely, my parents' expectations for me did too. As I constantly improved myself and got better results just like before, my parents had their expectations for me increase little by little every single time. The me before was scared that history would repeat itself and I'd get burnt out in the end. But surprisingly, they stopped pushing me. They had laid off their expectations and left me alone. They saw how I was doing my best and were content with the results I was putting out. With this, one may think that my story would end in peace with the absence of my parents' expectations. But no, instead, my own expectations took its place. What was once my parents' expectations dragging me along became my own expectations, empowering me to achieve the things that I wanted to do and also needed to do. I live in the Philippines, and in the Philippines there are 4 major universities. The first being the University of the Philippines, the #1 school in the Philippines. Everyone had dreamed of going here not just because it was the #1 university, but also since it was a state university, it was free. People would study years before the entrance test just to secure a slot. And even when they failed to get into the campus of their choice, they'd spend months just appealing and appealing and appealing even joining a course that they don't have an interest in just to get into the campus that they wanted. The second school is DLSU. It has a good international reputation and also has a lot of connections to a lot of different companies. Then there's Ateneo and UST, but both of them are discardable to the story I'm about to tell you. Ever since the topic of college was brought up to the table, my mom had always talked to me about how she wanted me to go UP. While there were a lot of scary stories such as fraternity hazing, crimes, UP was still the uncontended best school in the Philippines, and at the same time, it would be a big financial help to my parents. I would study really hard, pushing myself time and time again. I'd stay up countless nights just studying and studying and studying. Sometimes I didn't even sleep. Slowly but surely, I found myself getting results. My grades would regularly improve with a drastic change compared to how it was the years before. Every top test gave me the confidence that I needed, and this slowly built up higher and higher and higher. I would realize that I'm capable and would expect myself to achieve similar results the next time and maybe even better. I would find myself constantly improving and improving towards the end goal that I had set for my own self. I also began to study hard in hopes that I would make it to the big 3 schools that I applied to with my newfound confidence. My academic journey from this point had seen several milestones and achievements. Aside from the times I topped assessments and finals, I graduated with highest honors. I also made it into Ateneo, DLSU, and the University of the Philippines. Each and every one of these events slowly stroked my ego and made me think that I was capable of so much more. I'd spent my entire summer believing that I would be going to UP. It was like my hard work is finally paid off. But one day, my parents told me that I wouldn't be allowed to go into UP, and instead, I'd be going to DLSU. Due to circumstances that are completely unrelated to the point I'm trying to make in this video. I felt betrayed most especially because it was my mom in the first place who wanted me to go to UP. She was the reason I tried so hard. So while I understood that the course I wanted for college was better in DLSU, it was still something painful. After days of thought, I had come to the conclusion that I should go and try to get the scholarship. I had shame towards my parents, and knowing how much tuition would cost, I wanted to find a way to help ease their financial burdens. Getting a college scholarship was difficult in the Philippines since it's reserved for those who are poor and couldn't afford education. So a household like mine that isn't considered poor but also isn't considered rich, I was pretty low on the priority list. I had applied for a full grant scholarship from a foundation. With past events and achievements as of late, I had already subconsciously formed the expectations that I would make it. While I knew that my chances weren't huge, deep down inside, I was secretly hoping that this scholarship would be handed to me. And well, after 2 months of waiting, I had found out that I did not get the scholarship. It hurt a lot, and I still think about it to this day. It always hurts more whenever you know that you have a fighting chance. Between 2 students, someone who is smart and someone who is at the bottom of the class list. The one who's at the bottom would understand their own limits and have no expectations for themselves, making it so much easier to deal with. Meanwhile, the smart one understands that they at least have a fighting chance, subconsciously building up the expectations that they would get in, especially when they think about the future that awaits them if they did. With these expectations betrayed, it hurts so much because they already thought about it before, and the possibility, knowing that they lost it, would hurt even more because of that. Because they understand and know that there is a universe out there where they were able to get it. My ego had taken a great hit. The cycle that I had spoken about earlier had come to end once more. The constant cycle of ego and the buildup of expectations came to fall once more. There are 2 types of expectations. The one that comes from others and the ones that come from yourself. The ones that come from others are the most common, as it acts as credibility or reassurance for yourself. It acts as the proof that you are capable of whatever it is that they expect you to do. The times that we doubt ourselves or believe we can't do it, An outsider perspective is usually what pulls us out from the dark hole that we sit in. Then there's the expectations that you have for yourself. This is the one that truly matters. The confidence and ego you have dictate whatever you believe you're capable of doing. It gives motivation through the belief that you know you can do it. It's also what hurts the most. To betray others' expectations could simply mean that they don't understand what they see in you. They aren't you, and they also don't know you yourself the best. To betray your own expectations would mean that you were not everything that you thought you were. It's a humbling experience, but also a painful one. It makes you doubt yourself and instantly takes away all of your self-confidence. Depending on how it's used, expectations can be good or bad. It can be the reassurance you need to do better and give your all, but at the same time, within those expectations, when they are betrayed, it causes you to doubt yourself. It makes you feel lost and question if you really are at the level you think you are. This goes for anything. For example, be it work, academics, or even relationships. To betray the expectations that you have for yourself would mean to disappoint the one person that should be believing in you in the first place. You. And that's where I am right now. My streak of growing self-confidence had ended with how I did not get the scholarship. Felt like there was a limit placed on what I can do. And also feel disappointed knowing that there is a future that waited for me if I did get it. To not manage your expectations means to risk disappointing yourself. I wanted to tell you who's on the same path what waits for you in the end. The tragic fate of the loss of self-confidence and no longer being able to understand what you truly are capable of. Expectations are a double-edged sword. They could be used to uplift you, give you the motivation you need to do something, but at the same time, they can also pull you down instead and take away all of your confidence. Take it easy and learn how to manage your own expectations for yourself and from others. Use it in a positive manner that uplifts you instead of eating away at you to do more than what you already do. While we all may not have the same situation, it's still a universal truth that the more and more we expect something with each occasion, it would only lead to disappointment the one time we do not meet those expectations. I need you to understand that while it is not bad to have expectations placed onto yourself from others, or even by you yourself, what is bad is disappointing yourself in the process. Take care of yourself to make sure that never happens. This is Mika. Peace out.